Hi there and welcome to the show. I'm Nancy Guppy coming to you from the glorious waters of Green Lake. And since this is our last episode before taking a summer break, we decided to cherry pick a few of our favorite segments from the past season. We've got Heart's Nancy Wilson, Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery, the Penthouse Jazz Club, and Skates. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this Heading into Summer Art Zone special. Nancy Wilson, what a treat.
I'm glad to be here. You know, I'm a Seattle girl, so anything for Seattle.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. We claim you here in the city. Well, in a career that spans 4+ decades, dozens of albums, You and Me is your first solo studio record. So congratulations on that. How do you feel?
You know, I'm really happy with the way the record turned out. And it's being received really, really well. People really like the diversity that's on it. A few covers, a bunch of original new stuff as well. So yeah, I'm proud of it and I'm happy about it. And
Great.
I want to do another one now.
Yeah, there you go. You've lit the fire for that. So there are 12 songs on the record, and it opens with the title track, You and Me, a beautiful song that you wrote with Sue Ennis about your mom. Tell us about that song.
Well, you know, Sue and I have collaborated a long time, you know, for Heart songs in particular. And she reminded me that when I was starting out making this album, that she had shared a song with me about a year before that she'd written when her mom passed away called Follow Me. And I had just recently had a dream about being with my mom, who's no longer around. And so I wrote a bunch of lyrics called You and Me and Gravity. So I said, hey, Ding, let's make a hybrid of our two mom songs. And I really thought it was so kind of touching, you know, the way it turned out.
We talk endlessly and we stay up too late, meeting up in some suspended state.
You're having a conversation in zero gravity with, you know, a spirit of someone you love.
You always showed me the way home.
So when I listen to your guitar playing, for me, it's like you're weaving a beautiful web of sound that is gossamer and delicate, as well as strong and very resilient. And these qualities are on full display in For Edward, the closing track you wrote in honor of Eddie Van Halen. And there's a story behind that song.
Well, yes, I love to tell it. I love to tell this story.
I want to hear it.
Because in the, you know, back in the roaring 80s when we used to open for those guys sometimes, big festival kind of situations like that. And we got to know those guys pretty well, and Eddie was really a sweetheart. They were all really cool guys, but Eddie was really a fan of my playing, and he told me that. He said, I really like how you play that acoustic. And I said, wow, coming from you, you know, I can't even take it. But I said, well, why don't you play more acoustic yourself? And he was like, well, I don't really have one, you know, around here. So I said, that's impossible. You have to have one right now. So, I went and got one backstage from the roadie guy and gave it to him. You know, here, you officially have one on tour now. So flash forward to early, dark 30 the next morning. I was asleep and my phone rang in the room. It was him playing me on the acoustic guitar that I'd given to him, this beautiful piece of music. I was like, wow, that's one of the prettiest things I've heard, you know. And then went back to sleep. And so later, after like sound check or whatever the next day, the show day, I said, Eddie, you played the most beautiful thing. Thank you for doing that. And he said, I did? I think he was up partying all night, and then kind of might have forgot it, but I hope not. But anyway, I was just, I was trying to channel what it was that I felt that he had played to me and something in that sort of genre, in that school of thought that was pretty angelic and pretty, kind of rock as well.
That is a wonderful story. I believe that he's feeling the love.
Yeah, I think up there in the Angel Ballroom up there, with all those other rockers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think he's flattered somewhere up there, wherever he is.
So there were a number of cover songs on the record. Pearl Jam's Daughter, The Boxer by Simon and Garfunkel, Springsteen's The Rising. When you approach such well-known popular songs, how do you make them your own?
Well, by every which way, I guess, because, with Daughter, I'd already recorded that before I started the album for a film which centers around a true story about human trafficking.
Don't call me daughter, not fit to the picture kept with mine.
I figured Daughter would be perfect for that film because there's the line in the song that says she holds the hand that holds her down, and I thought that was really appropriate to the story.
She holds the hand that holds her down. She will rise above.
So, and then I had it in my back pocket, it's like, well, I already have one song I could put on my album, and let me try Bruce Springsteen's The Rising.
Sky of blackness, sky of sorrow, sky of love and sky of tears.
The next thing I wanted to record was that, because I'd seen Springsteen on Broadway and was completely moved and inspired by hearing those kinds of songs that he's so good at writing without all the production and all of the, just like the raw emotional meaning of those songs. Having been written for 9/11 originally, I figured, well, this would be a good song for me to put out into the world because it was the beginning of the shutdown and the pandemic and all of the, horrible, horrific loss and fear and pain that people were going through.
Is there anything you learned about yourself as a musician that you didn't know before making You and Me?
Yeah, well, mainly, as a singer, I was never the main singer. Obviously, I got to sing here and there once in a while. So I was like, wow, I'm gonna sing everything on this. So I better figure out how to do that because I don't do it that often. Something I've done all my life was sing and play with friends in rooms and hootenannies and jamboree kind of stuff, but to kind of interpret my own stories that I wrote myself, or to know which persona to kind of put out there. I actually got some really good direction from Sue Ennis. She was like, don't try to put yourself into the heart level as a singer. You could just tell a story. Just tell your own story more. And then I remembered Anne had told me that once too. She said, don't try to be perfect. You're trying too hard to be perfect with it. Just tell your story.
Burn the house down, let it flame
so I kind of came to a new kind of realization about, as a musician, you know, not to try to over-perfect yourself on all levels, I think. It's more refreshing for people to hear the humanness these days in particular, when it's not just all ironed out and auto-tuned and perfected digitally, you know. So there's an honest humanity about it when it's imperfect.
Nancy's summer tour dates are at nancywilson2022.com.
Welcome to the Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery. My name is Jake Prendez and I'm one of the co-directors.
My name is Judy Avitia Gonzalez, co-director.
We're here on the border of White Center and West Seattle. The Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery is a multi-use, multicultural art space devoted and grounded in the Chicano, Chicana, and Latinx arts community. I was born in a small town called San Jacinto, California, but moved to Seattle when I was 5 years old. I was always coloring and doing art as a kid, but gave up art by the time I was probably 19. Had those type of teachers that told me my art was too ethnic, too gangster, I couldn't do that kind of art. So I gave up art from the time I was about 19 till I was in my 30s, actually. But I took a class during my Master's in Chicano Studies program with famed artist Irene Cervantes, and just fell in love with art all over again. 13 so years later, I'm still at it, and I'm a full-time artist and gallery owner.
My parents are both from Mexico, from Durango, Mexico. So I am Chicana, Mexican-American. My culture, my family is super important. Spanish is my first language. I don't want to lose that. I don't want my children to lose that. And so for me to engage, to live our cultural experiences, like continue those strong traditions is very important because I don't want it lost.
We have an amazing, eclectic variety of art that we get submitted to our gallery shows. We're getting artists that have big names that show in big galleries that are in museums, but we're also getting artists that it's their first time they've ever displayed in an exhibition in their life. So this is my art here on this wall, which is more of a permanent fixture here at Nepantla. I tell folks that my art is taking my whole life. So it's love, it's heartbreak, it's pop culture, it's Mexican culture, it's American culture, putting it in a blender and then pouring it out on canvas. This is my newest painting, just finished about a week ago. And the title of this one is "The Floor is Racism." So he's trying to get as far away from the ground as possible.
We are open Thursday through Sunday from 12 to 6. Please come by and check out our current art show, as well as our ever-growing store. If you are an artist or an artisan or a writer and you have some products or merch to sell, please contact us. We are always looking for new vendors.
We hope to see you at the Nepantla Cultural Arts Gallery and visit our amazing community.
For hours and location, go to nepantlaculturalarts.com.
My name is Charlie Puzo Jr. My father was Charlie Puzo, who started the Penthouse Jazz Club here in Seattle. Around 1960, 1961, my dad started the Penthouse here in Seattle. He was looking for a venue for live jazz music. One of the first things my father did at the Penthouse was pick out a piano for the room. He asked Oscar Peterson, the jazz artist, to help him out with that, who is a friend of my father's, and they picked out this beautiful baby Steinway. And they put it in the room, and they were in the process of remodeling, and he started playing, and the acoustics in the room were amazing with the brick walls. Oscar Peterson looked around the room and said, "Do not get rid of these brick walls, Charlie. It's amazing in here." And they ended up keeping the brick walls. That was part of the look of the Penthouse.
There were these little bookshelf speakers that were like 2 cubic feet. Whoever designed the system put these bookshelf speakers along the ceiling and the wall, down the wall opposite the stage. So the band was playing here, speakers were overhead. They filled the room with music without being beam-like. So the sound was very even throughout the room, and it wasn't peaky, it wasn't screechy, it wasn't boomy, it wasn't thumpy. It was very natural sounding.
The way my father approached owning a jazz club, I think, was different at that time than a lot of people would approach opening a jazz club. He made sure that everyone felt welcome there. He was always at the club. I think the way that my dad cared about the club was part of the magic of the club.
We have a special request from a man whose name is Charles Puzo. That is a young Connecticut lad who has made a name for himself in the great Northwest.
Also, I think the mix of people that you had coming into the club. It was a time in the 60s when we were in the throes of a lot of racial tension in the country, and it was a place where there was almost never a fight. There was very rarely any issues. People got along there. They came there for the music. So it was also a place of peace in a pretty turbulent time. You had everyone from John Coltrane, Miles Davis, a young Aretha Franklin. You had Oscar Peterson, Stan Getz, George Shearing and Dizzy Gillespie, Jazz Crusaders, June Christie. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
I came here in 1961, watched them build the Space Needle for the World's Fair, and the city got really excited in preparation for hosting a World's Fair. And so it was a very exciting time to be here. When I got here, unfortunately, I was working at night. I was doing the night shift at King FM, and I didn't have the opportunity to get out much. But when the Penthouse opened, that was my opportunity to start doing something by doing live broadcasts from the Penthouse. At that time, the main way of relaying audio from one place to another was via telephone lines. And you could order up special lines just for a broadcast. It was just a permanent connection between the location and the broadcast studio. And I would set up my microphones, which were good quality, recording quality microphones set for music. And I would feed the house speakers with my mixer. And it was just a little 4-channel mixer, 4 big knobs. We had to have an amplifier, which had one of those nice big VU, 4-inch square VU meters with a needle going back and forth in it like this.
Hello and welcome to half an hour of jazz live and direct from the Penthouse, just off Pioneer Square here in the heart of Old Seattle. Tonight, Seattle welcomes back Cannonball Adderley and the Quintet.
I learned to listen and watch the meters. I could see after a while which instrument was playing on the meters. Like if someone was soloing and the meter wasn't moving much, I knew I needed to turn them up. I asked at the studio, as the program was being broadcast live, that they always record the program so I could listen to it the next day, see what I did right, see what I did wrong, how I could improve the situation the next time around.
The raw tapes before they are mastered and are my favorite. Listening to them on a reel-to-reel, you really feel like you're there. I mean, out of 10, I think they're a 12.
Jazz from the Penthouse coming to you live and direct here on KING FM in Seattle. Tonight, bringing you the music of the Eddie Lockjaw Davis and Johnny Griffin Quintet. Horace Parlin at the piano, Buddy Catlett on bass, and Art Taylor at the drums. Here's the Lockjaw Davis, Johnny Griffin Quintet.
So far, out of the master tapes that Jim Wilkie and I have, we've put out 7 albums through various labels, and we plan to release 1 or 2 albums a year if everything works out well. The first release was Groovin' Hard live at the Penthouse from the 3 Sounds. We also released Wes Montgomery, Cannonball Adderley, Jack Wilson, Johnny Griffin, and Eddie Lockjaw Davis.
In broadcasting, that's always been my goal in radio, is to connect the audience and the artist together. And when people begin to see the connection between what happened then and how someone else has come along and renewed it, and reestablished it, taken it on to the next step, that's what the music is all about. And if I can be a part of that, that's good enough for me.
My dad passed away 5 years ago. We all want our parents to live on, and this is one way I can do that. Every time we release one of these records, I get to see a little bit of my dad kind of live on, which is exciting for me. I miss him dearly. He was my best friend, and this is one way I can do something that I promised I would do. And it was kind of a shame because the process took so long that he never got to see any of these released. He got sick at the very end of when we were releasing the first record and wasn't able to see them. So it's a little bittersweet for me as each one comes out too, because he doesn't get to see them. I feel very honored to just be a small part of the process. It's important, I think, for this music to be out there and to be heard, because it is magical.
For the past half hour, you've been listening to live jazz from the Penthouse here on KING FM with Eddie Lockjaw Davis, Johnny Griffin Quintet. Eddie and Johnny on tenors, Horace Parlin at the piano, Buddy Catlett on bass, Art Taylor at the drums. Music and facilities for this program provided by the Penthouse. Technical operation by Fred Stimson. This is Jim Wilkie speaking.
Plays Ballard's Connor Byrne on Friday, July 8th, and the Moore Street Block Party in Bellingham on Saturday, July 30th. And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in all season long. We hope you have a fabulous summer, and we'll see you again in the fall.